What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews, exclusively here as always on the Casa D18 Studios channel. I, of course, am your host, the Renegade J.J. Williams, and today we return to Gotham City from our small layover in Metropolis to discuss Christopher Nolan's 2008 epic, the second installment in the Dark Knight trilogy, The Dark Knight, starring Christian Bale, Michael Caine, Heath Ledger, Gary Oldman, Aaron Eckhart, Maggie Gyllenhaal, Morgan Freeman, Eric Roberts, Anthony Michael Hall, Michael Jai White, Tom Tiny Lister Jr., and Cillian Murphy. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining me here once again for another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews. And like I said during the introduction, today we return to Gotham City from our small layover in Metropolis to get caught back up with Batman and the antics of his rogues gallery. And as our movie opens, a gang of criminals rob a Gotham City mob bank. The Joker, in disguise as one of the robbers, manipulates the other robbers into murdering each other for a higher share of the money until only he remains, escaping with the money. Batman, Lieutenant Jim Gordon, and brand new Gotham City District Attorney Harvey Dent form an alliance in order to rid Gotham City of organized crime. Bruce Wayne is impressed with Dent's idealism and offers to help support his career. Bruce believes that with Dent as Gotham's protector, he can finally give up being Batman and lead a normal life with Rachel Dawes, even though currently she and Dent are dating. Meanwhile, mob bosses Sal Maroni, Gamble, and the Chechen hold a video conference with their corrupt accountant, Lau, who has hidden their funds for safekeeping and fled to Hong Kong. The Joker warns them that Batman is unhindered by the law and offers to kill him in exchange for half of their money. After Joker kills Gamble and takes over his gang, the mob accepts his offer. Batman finds Lau and brings him back to Gotham to testify, which allows Dent to apprehend the entire mob. The Joker then threatens a string of murders unless Batman reveals his identity and starts by killing the current police commissioner, Gillian B. Loeb, and Judge Cirillo. Joker targets the mayor, but Gordon sacrifices himself in order to stop the assassination, and Rachel is his next target. Bruce plans to reveal himself in order to stop the murders, but Harvey Dent, refusing to allow him to do so, announces that he is Batman instead. Dent is taken into custody, and the Joker attacks the convoy. Batman and Gordon, who faked his death, rescue Dent and apprehend the Joker. Rachel and Dent are then kidnapped, and the Joker reveals that they are in separate buildings, both rigged with explosives. Batman races to save Rachel while Gordon attempts to rescue Harvey, but Batman realizes too late that the Joker sent him to Dent's location instead. Both buildings explode, killing Rachel and disfiguring half of Dent's face. The Joker escapes with Lau, whom he kills along with the Chechen. Coleman Reese then, who is an accountant at Wayne Enterprises, deduces that Bruce is Batman and tries to go public with the information. Not wanting Reese's revelation, To interfere with his plans, the Joker threatens to destroy a hospital unless Reese is killed within the hour. The Joker convinces a disillusioned Dent to seek revenge for Rachel's death and then destroys the hospital. Dent goes on a killing spree as the vigilante known as Two-Face and targets those that he feels are responsible for Rachel's death. After announcing that Gotham City will be subjected to his rule come nightfall, the Joker rigs 2 ferries with explosives. 1 ferry containing civilians and 1 containing prisoners. And the Joker threatens to blow both ferries up, but he agrees to let 1 ferry live if its passengers use its detonator to blow up the other ferry. Batman is able to find the Joker by exploiting the sonar capabilities of all the phones in the city, and the civilians and the prisoners stand firm and refuse to kill each other, proving that Gotham still has some hope in good with its citizens. As SWAT takes Joker into custody, he gloats that Gotham's citizens will lose hope once the admired Harvey Dent's rampage becomes public knowledge. Gordon and Batman then encounter Two-Face, who has taken Gordon's family as hostages. Two-Face shoots Batman and threatens to kill Gordon's son, claiming that Gordon's negligence is responsible for Rachel's death. Batman tackles Two-Face off of the building and to his death. He then persuades Gordon to hold him responsible for Dent's killing spree in order to preserve Dent's heroic image to the city, believing that Dent is the hero that Gotham needs right now. As our movie ends, Dent is hailed as a hero, and the police launch a manhunt for Batman, with Gordon unwillingly destroying the bat signal. We interrupt this episode of Renegades Reviews for an important announcement about
merchandising.
Merchandising? What's that?
Merchandising. Come, I'll show you. Merchandising, where the real money's made.
Make sure you go over to teespring.com/stores/Jeff Meacham Network for all the t-shirts you see here from the West Coast professor, Jeff Meacham himself. You can get shirts for the Jeff Meacham Network, Talk Wrestling, as well as the red and gold Meachamania shirts. And while you're there, don't forget to get your shirts of the Casa D18 Studios Brotherhood, the Dads on Wrestling shirt, the Renegade J.J. Williams, Statboy Sports Bar, and the hashtag StatBoyApproved shirt. Make sure you go over to teespring.com/stores/Jeff Meacham Network and score your shirts today. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to waste too much time with this one. We've got some special guests that are going to join me here today to discuss about this film. I had people beating down my messenger saying they wanted to be in this. So first and foremost, let's welcome the man, the myth, the legend, the man who allows me to replay my shows every other week on his network, the West Coast professor himself, Jeff Meacham. Jeff, thank you very much for joining me here once again on Renegades Reviews. 2 episodes pretty close together, both featuring the same hero.
Yes.
We're going to be talking about the Bat, of course, the Dark Knight specifically,
Yes,
the
sir.
second chapter in the Nolan trilogy.
Yes.
What made you want to come here and be part of this one?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because I didn't pick a Superman movie at all with you, and people were surprised by that as the month has gone on here. It's like I was always a Boy Scout guy, but
You picked Dawn of Justice. That's Bat and Soups.
well, I didn't really pick Dawn of Justice so much as like it fell on the replay day, so I figured, I'll go ahead and throw
Fair
it.
enough.
it was it just kind of happened upon me, which is I'm not a problem with at all, because like I said, that movie gets next to nil positive energy, but this one gets all the love, and I couldn't help but be, because I mean I wore this shirt when I did Returns with you, and it just didn't feel right, and the Joker has always been my favorite villain. We'll get more into the whole discussion as we go on here, but I feel that the Bats Rogues Gallery is so plentiful that I gotta appear at least on one more Batman thing, and there is no greater Batman villain than the Joker. Since I didn't do the Nicholson one, I'll do this one.
Fair enough. But ladies and gentlemen, this is not it. We've got another surprise in store for you. This is a fully loaded episode of Renegades Reviews. First time we've done more than one special guest. Ladies and gentlemen, hot off the grand reopening of Stat Boy Sports Bar, open for business now 2 weeks in a row. Give it up for the owner and proprietor of the sports bar, Stat Boy Mike Caldwell himself. Welcome, Mikey.
And I thought my jokes were bad.
They are. We've known you for enough time.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Your jokes are even worse than Fozzie Bear's.
Ooh. Damn.
Fozzie Bear is the Joker compared to you.
Ooh, ouch. We're hitting Mikey below the belt today. All right. Well,
hey, I mean, he wanted to come off strong. I had to knock him down a peg or two.
Hey, well, we got to keep it.
Stat Boy, thank you for tuning in and joining me, though, today. Like I just asked Jeff, what was it about The Dark Knight? Very briefly here, because we're going to get into elaborations, but what is it about The Dark Knight that really made you say, Renegade, I need to be on this show?
It was all about Heath Ledger for me, and playing the Joker, and playing that character. So, and it's no secret, this is by far the top for me in the entire Batman movie saga, epicness, whatever you want to call it. Of all the Batman movies, the movie now, not the actors, not the characters, not the storylines, just the movie in general, it goes at the top of my list. So I had to be part of this one.
Okay, fair enough. Let's see here. Obviously, we have the Joker in this one. We also got Two-Face in this one. Yes. And I really enjoyed seeing the rise and fall, if you will, of Harvey Dent, because we didn't really get that in Forever.
No.
Agreed.
He was Harvey in Batman.
Right.
And by the time we got to Forever, he was Two-Face, and only via a brief video clip did we really get to see what happened in that universe.
Yes.
Like, even more so than Ledger's Joker, which I want to take nothing away from. I think the true story in The Dark Knight is the rise and fall of Harvey Dent. What do you guys think, Jeff?
100% agree with that. I have always been compelled by Harvey's arc rather than the continuation of Bruce's or the brief moment we get with the Joker, which is only this film. There was supposed to be a continuation, of course, in Rises, a brief cameo of him leaving Blackgate, but of course he passed away and they chose not to continue on with the character. As far as the storyline wise, it is in the novelization though that he has mentioned that in the novelization of the movie that he was at Blackgate when Bane opened the doors up, and you'll get to that the next when you do Batman Dark Knight Rises. But yeah, Harvey's arc here, I love that they actually gave us a Harvey Dent story because, like you said, we got. Let me do Eddie right here. Billy D, and Batman, and then nothing. Like, we didn't get him back, and by the time we got to 95 and it was time for Forever, it was a white guy. And okay, so we're in the same universe because technically Jack Napier still shot Bruce's parents, but we've got a white Harvey Dent now. All right, sure. And And the mayor changed 3 different times. The whole Schumacher saga was weird, which is why I love this trilogy so much. Continuity is a beautiful thing. And I love that they had the entire Harvey Dent arc really contained in this one movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then they allowed the story of Harvey to heavily influence the finale, which was so, like I said, people kind of crud on the third act of this trilogy. I don't. I love it. But this, like I said, this movie has the entire Harvey arc, the entire Joker arc, and you really see Bruce's struggle with what the symbol of Batman is supposed to be. Because we hear all about it in Begins, about, you know, he needs to come back and right the wrongs in Gotham, and Bruce Wayne can't do that. Batman can. Well, Batman now is going to be the one that assumes the mantle of the wrong by saving face for Harvey. So just a great. This is one of those, like, you know, you all three of us in this room. The Empire Strikes Back's the greatest middle act in history of cinema. Dark Knight almost said, "Hold my beer," almost.
Mikey, what about you when it comes to the Harvey storyline?
They definitely took it to the next level. With Tommy Lee, they had the prosthetics, the latex, perhaps the purple face. With the new actor and the new version of Harvey Dent, I mean, you could see the damage done by the accident where he became Two-Face. It wasn't the story that I remembered. I always thought, you know, Harvey was burned by acid, but instead it was the gasoline and the explosion that turned him into Two-Face. That's a small little detail that whatever writers or whoever was in charge of the movie made. But they, like I say, they definitely took Two-Face to that next level, which
there was definitely a little bit of creative freedom there in his origin story.
Right.
You know, that's one of the things that I really enjoy about these movies, is that they're all up for interpretation between the screenwriters and the directors and the actors, etc. That's why a lot of comic book fans really crap on me, because I don't stick to the knowledge of the comic book verse and what happened within the pages of DC, Marvel, etc. So when things like this get changed, it doesn't bother me as much as it bothers a comic book purist.
Well,
right.
Let me counter that, Jay, by saying this. You know, there can be arguments about this for days, weeks, months, who knows. You know, there is no, for my money, greater Batman-centric comic book than The Killing Joke. And the motive behind that book is there is no definitive origin of the Joker, which is why he's, you know, I got these scars stories change every single time, because there is no right or wrong answer in this guy's mind, because he's so flippin' twisted. By the same definition, you know, there is no right or wrong. As long as you stick to parents gunned down in an alley by a random act of violence, inspires them to right the wrongs of the city, assumes the mantle of the bat, everything else is gravy, brother. I mean, really, that's if you stick to that, and you stick to Dick Grayson, the original Robin, you know, being part of a circus family who's also gunned down by violence, everything else is pretty much open for how they got to the place they got. Because, you know, we never get how Heath became the Joker in the first place. Harvey, yes, for most of his time in existence, he's had the same, you know, Maroni, of all people, threw the acid in his face in a courtroom. We've seen that throughout time. But if you notice, it was because of the Joker, who was basically hired by Maroni to take Batman out, that Harvey was in that room in the first place. And why that room exploded, because Maroni's men put him there. So really, it's still Maroni that caused the disfigurement of Harvey Dent.
So the Joker was telling the truth in the hospital scene.
The Joker, like he said, I mean, you sent us that YouTube video in the group chat, Mikey. The Joker's just a mad dog trying to catch his own tail. He has no plan. He lets the mob guys do the plan thing. Alfred said it best. Some people just want to watch the roll burn, man, and that's exactly what the Joker wanted to do. He just wanted to see how much he could cause before people started going, "Hey, wait a minute," And it took. Even when he was defeated at the end, he wasn't, because he had taken Harvey down. So,
very valid point.
Yeah, great stuff all around here. And like I said, there will never, I don't think, ever be a definitive Joker story, origin story ever. They had this 3 Jokers thing here recently that my mind went, still don't get it, but okay. So the fact that the Batman villain's open for interpretation means anybody can be open for interpretation.
So Joaquin's Joker movie is not an origin story?
It is, but it's also not contained within the greater DCEU, from what I understand. It's going to stand alone. There will be no Robert Pattinson interaction or anything like that. So,
okay.
That's accurate. That's actually what I was going to go to when you mentioned no definitive origin stories. I was going to bring up Joaquin's Joker,
right,
which we'll be getting to in a few days here on the channel.
Yes, and
just before we spiral into the actual DCEU.
Yes.
We talked about I want to say when we were doing Batman Returns,
okay.
Me and you discussed other possible people that were up for the Penguin.
Yes.
And some of the out there names like Dean Martin and Phil Collins.
Right.
John Candy.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. Really?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Look it up.
Yeah. Watch our shows.
I saw a name that had been seriously considered for what eventually ended up being Heath Ledger's Joker. And I want to discuss the possibility of what if Johnny Depp had gotten this role.
Yeah.
Mikey, I'm going to go to you first this time.
Yeah.
Being a man who used to work for the Mouse and arguably the most iconic character for Johnny, at least in recent years, is that of the ever popular Captain Jack Sparrow, mate. What would it have done for Johnny if Johnny had gone from Captain Jack to the Joker?
I honestly think it would have worked, because Johnny has proven that he can do a dark character. He did it in Edward Scissorhands. He did it in Sweeney Todd. So I can actually see him going to that dark place and getting the mannerisms down and getting the makeup down and getting the voice down. It would have worked. I don't think, though, it would have been as close as Jack's performance, because I'm no secret, I've got Jack and Heath neck and neck. I just can't give the edge to either one of them because they were that good. If Johnny did it, if Johnny did it and Heath didn't, then I would definitely put Jack at the top of the list, hands down. With Johnny doing it, he would have that darkness, he would have that evilness, but I don't think it would be that close.
Okay, before we go to Jeff, what did you think when you heard about Heath's casting for this film? I mean, prior to this, he had been the guy from 10 Things I Hate About You and A Knight's Tale, and he was Mel Gibson's son in The Patriot. And now this cute Aussie kid is the Joker?
I had no recollection as to who Heath Ledger was before he became before he became the Joker in The Dark Knight.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, those 3 movies I really didn't care for. He was in Monsters Ball, and of course, but they didn't give him that much of screen time because of what his character did in that one. So I'm like, who is this guy? And then I saw it, and then I put 2 together, and I'm like, those three roles don't count. He's the Joker no matter what.
See, and as career defining as this character became for him, he'll still always be that guy to me that we saw, or we will see here later today on the Dad's show, singing and dancing on the bleachers and 10 Things I Hate About You. Like, for me, and I think we can all agree, usually a person's first exposure to an actor is what that person will always be to the person.
I can agree.
Sean William Scott will always be Stifler.
Yep.
He could win an Academy Award for playing, George Washington. Stifler won an Academy Award.
That's very
You know what I
true.
mean? It's like it's just
I'll
that
give one better. I'll give it. I can't remember her damn name. Stifler's mom will always be Stifler's mom.
Yeah,
Jennifer
exactly.
something.
Yeah.
She is supposedly on this critically acclaimed TV show right now. I even think she was nominated for Emmys. I don't know if she won or not. But it's Stifler's mom. Like,
Yeah.
we can't even remember her name.
That's so
She
bad.
is
She's with Jennifer. I know that.
okay. What's her last name, Stat Boy? Without Googling it right now.
Well, unfortunately, I can't get
Exactly.
my tablet right now.
She is in pop culture history as Stifler's mom. If you go to Webster's Dictionary and you look up Stifler's mom, her picture will be next to it.
Just make sure it's the
With the description, see Jennifer, whatever her last name is.
right. Yeah. So
Jeff, same question to you. What do you think Johnny Depp could have been in this character?
Well, before we get to Johnny, how did you live with JJ and not know those 3 movies, Mikey? How did that happen in that house? Anyway, wondering. Johnny Depp, it's interesting. I'm going to disagree with Mikey. And I only say that because we had gotten so used to the crazy mannerisms from, the Captain Jack Sparrow guy, being so rumspank, you didn't know his right hand from his left half the damn time. I don't know if I would have bought him as this motiveless, sinister villain. Like, I don't know if I would have really gone there. You have to remember something. I hadn't seen Heath Ledger at all prior to The Dark Knight. It wasn't like I didn't even know about these movies at all. It wasn't like I didn't see them. I just didn't know about them. And it wasn't like a conscious thing I did. I just didn't see these movies. I'm sure I saw trailers and whatever, but I hadn't seen it. So this was my first exposure to Heath. So for me to be able to see him for the first time in this role, this iconic role, the top Batman villain of all time, and completely flip the script on that character. Yeah, remember, we talked about definitive motives, definitive origins. For the most part, the Joker's been fight with Batman, drop him the biochemicals, rictus grin because of the fall or some sort of injury or whatever, loses his sanity in the process. Here, we get Heath, opening scene, he's got the makeup on and the hair, and we don't know why. The only time we see him without makeup on is during the scene with the mayor, and he's still got the scars. So something happened to him where he got scarred physically, and it scarred him mentally, we assume. We don't know that. That's what's great. With Johnny, again, after he did Captain Jack Sparrow, I got to be clear on that, or the mouse will shoot me down like a dog. God forbid that. And we
all know how the Mouse Mafia watches our videos.
We know they do. We know this. We never know with this guy anyway. He could be still secretly working for him. He's sketchy like that.
No, I work for Dolly. Sorry.
That's okay.
Just remember, Stat Boy, snitches get stitches.
That's okay. It's still 2 big balloons on top. Anyway.
Hey-o!
Anyway.
Whoa.
He went on to do Sweeney Todd, like Mikey said, and that was a very dark character. And he's done, he did Sleepy Hollow as the baby face, which is funnier than hell. But I don't know if I would have bought 2008 Johnny Depp as the Joker. I don't think I would have gone there.
Okay. Mikey, you told me in that brief moment we were off camera that you had a follow-up question. You want to go for that?
Yeah, with the origin stuff, was Jack Nicholson's Joker an origin story?
Yes. They basically it was how Jack Napier became the Joker, because Jack Napier was the head lieutenant for who basically the character that would normally be Carmine Falcone, Sal Maroni, the lead gangster in town. Carl Grissom was a Burton-verse original. He was not in any other story as far as I remember. So they made Jack the Lieutenant. So when he took the ricocheted bullet, scarred his face, when he fell into the vat of chemicals, when he realized Carl set him up because of the affair with Alicia, all of that combined and created this Joker and completely turned him mad. So,
yeah.
and again, in that movie, vat of chemicals and bot surgery. That's Joker 101.
We interrupt this episode of Renegades Reviews for an important announcement about
Merchandising.
Merchandising? What's that?
Merchandising. Come, I'll show you. Merchandising, merchandising, where the real money's made.
Make sure you go over to teespring.com/stores/Jeff Meacham Network for all the t-shirts you see here from the West Coast professor, Jeff Meacham himself. You can get shirts for the Jeff Meacham Network, Talk Wrestling, as well as the red and gold Meachamania shirts. And while you're there, don't forget to get your shirts of the Casa D18 Studios Brotherhood, the Dads on Wrestling shirt, the Renegade JJ Williams, Statboy Sports Bar, and the hashtag StatBoyApproved shirt. Make sure you go over to teespring.com/stores/Jeff Meacham Network and score your shirts today.
Has there ever been an origin in the animated world?
That's a good question. I don't know because I never really watched Batman the Animated Series.
It's my understanding that other than Batman Beyond Return of the Joker, where they kind of explained his resurrection, no, they didn't tell the Red Hood story. They didn't tell any of those. We just basically got the impression that the Joker we saw, voiced by the legendary Mark Hamill, of course, that it was Jack Napier. And matter of fact, he was called Jack a couple times by Batman just in passing during the course of the series. So it's assumed but not confirmed that it was the Jack Napier Joker. Based on the fact that the entire DC anime universe was based on the first two Burton Batman movies, we kind of just assume.
So then the only true definitive movies, at least live action, with an origin is the 89 Batman and Joaquin's Joker.
That is correct. As my understanding, that is the case. And of course, they actually did the Killing Joke animated form, which was, once you get past that prologue, which is better than people give it credit for, is still the best Joker thing they've ever done as far as the origin. I mean, they told it so well. It was so good.
I agree. And actually, Statboy even came to me in Messenger asking if I was going to do that, or the Batman versus Ninja Turtles movies, or even the Lego Batman. And I was like, no, I'm sticking with live action. You know, there may be a time when I do a month of animated movies, right, and can definitely wield those in there. Or if I do just another random superhero movie month, right, since there are DC movies that got left out, Marvel movies that got left out, etc. Those can maybe get thrown in there.
Which is great because Adam and Bert return in animated form in one of those movies. So there you go.
Batman versus Two-Face. I have that.
Yeah. And Two-Face is William Shatner, which for me is like, oh, cool. So, yeah. Star Trek versus Batman from the 60s. There you go.
Anyway. All right. Now we're going to get to the ever controversial question. It's been discussed a few times on our shows, Jeff.
Yes.
But it's never been discussed in an open forum roundtable like this. $1 million question. Had Heath Ledger not died, would he have won the Oscar? Jeff, we're going to go to you first.
If you are, I will ask you this because we have Statboy and I want to keep stats straight. If you can access for me who was also nominated that year, because we did that discussion before. If you want to, cut tape or whatever, that's fine. But if you can tell me who was nominated and I can tell you the movies that they were in and remember, I could probably give you a better answer. Off the top of my head, he did a damn good job. He really did. It was so, like I said, having never seen him before in any role that I recall with great recollection, and knowing later that it was an Australian actor behind that voice, I would have never known it was Heath Ledger. You would have never been able to convince me of that. So based on that alone, I think he deserves the Oscar. And had he not passed away, I think it would have been more of a debate, but I think he still would have won. Again, based on the lack of knowledge of the other nominees right now off the top of my head.
Okay, here we go. So Michael Shannon was nominated for the film Revolutionary Road,
which was damn good.
Philip Seymour Hoffman was nominated for the film Doubt.
Okay.
Robert Downey Jr. was nominated for Tropic Thunder.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Brolin was nominated for Milk, and then Heath Ledger for The Dark Knight.
See, the only one I would think would be giving Heath a run for his money would be Brolin. Now, granted, Downey Jr. in Tropic Thunder was funnier. Okay, that was a funny movie, but you very rarely see a comedic supporting actor beat out a dramatic supporting actor. And for all intents and purposes, Heath was very much dramatic as it was superhero action. So I don't even with that category lined up, I think he still wins if he lives.
Okay, fair enough. Statboy, your thoughts?
I'm definitely going to say yes, absolutely. Had he not died, he still would have won. The performance in general was epic. He brought that character to life, so why not give him the Oscar? If Robert Downey Jr. though had not been nominated for Tropic Thunder, and if something else would have come out, then he would have given Heath a run for his money.
Just
when I can't remember a performance where a comedian won that award for being funny. It's always the dramatic roles that I think win.
Yeah.
So
yeah. You usually see the comedies get the Golden Globe more than the Oscars, unfortunately.
Yeah. So I'm gonna just flat out say yes, he would have won regardless.
Okay. Fair enough. You know, I still to date have not seen any of the other films where the actors were nominated in those categories. And maybe over time I will. I definitely want to see Tropic Thunder, and it may surprise people considering me and my personality that I've never seen Tropic Thunder.
Right.
But I have always likened Heath Ledger winning the Oscar to back in the days when MTV over the holiday weekend would count down the 100 greatest videos of all time. And it was always Thriller.
Right.
It was the greatest video that was ever made.
And it still is.
Kurt Cobain killed himself. And all of a sudden, Smells Like Teen Spirit became the #1 greatest video of all time. It wasn't #1 before he killed himself.
Right.
But as soon as he killed himself, it became #1. And it stayed #1 for a good few years until MTV finally had heard enough of the backlash and was like, okay, let's be real. There's no way this video is greater than Thriller.
No.
And Thriller went back to being #1, and Teen Spirit was #2.
Right.
And that's what I've always compared this to, is like it took his death for him to get the Oscar. And until I sit through the other 4 movies, I don't know if my opinion will change on the matter, but I still kind of feel like the only reason he got it was because he passed.
Right. We in the wrestling world often talk about, had Eddie not passed in 2005, would he have been inducted the following year? Had Edge not had to retire, would he have been inducted the following year? Had Percy not passed the year he passed, would he have got inducted the following year? A lot of that happens, and unfortunately, we will never know because, we weren't in the academy. We weren't members of the voting academy that year, so we'll never really know.
Fair enough. Mikey, you had something you wanted to bring up?
Just a little Oscar trivia. In 2006, when Heath was nominated for Brokeback Mountain, Joaquin was also nominated for Walk the Line.
Right.
And of course, Philip Seymour Hoffman won for Capote. And then 3 years later, Heath wins the Oscar. And then, of course, many years after that, Joaquin got it for Joker. So maybe there was a little bit of foreshadowing in there. You never know when you think about it.
It's funny. When JJ said Philip Seymour Hoffman, I thought she was going to say Capote, which would have made me argue. But he didn't. So I was like, okay, if it wasn't Capote, then he beats Philip that year. But if it had been Capote versus the Joker, I'd be like, I don't know. Because that was damn good of Philip Seymour Hoffman in that role. He was very good in that role. So I can't remember what year it was. So
2006.
Yeah, well, you said that now. I'm just, I wasn't sure when I was giving my little spiel there. So
Okay.
Carry on, Renegade. Carry on.
Final question we're going to discuss about here, since we are focusing more on the Joker, as this was, as much as this movie was the rise and fall and essentially the redemption of Harvey Dent, because Batman took the rap for Harvey because Harvey was the hero that Gotham needed right now.
Right.
This very much is the Joker's movie.
Yes.
And for years, ever since this film, primarily because of the Oscar win, people have held this version of the Joker as the definitive Joker, going as far as to surpass Cesar Romero's original depiction on the Batman TV series, overshadowing Jack Nicholson's version in the 89 Burton Batman, even in a lot of ways overshadowing Mark Hamill's in the animated series. A lot of people seem to go back and forth between Ledger and Hamill.
Right.
But Jared Leto is almost considered a disgrace for even putting on the face paint.
Mm-hmm.
And then even with Joaquin's performance, which won the Best Actor Oscar, not supporting actor, people still feel that Ledger's Joker is the greatest Joker. So, Statboy, we'll start with you first this time. Do you agree with that assessment? And if not, who do you feel is the best Joker to date?
Damn.
Put you on the
Like
spot.
I said, he puts me on the spot, and like, okay, if you're like putting a gun to my head and saying, "Damn it, Stat Boy, pick one," I would then have to go with Heath. I have to, and it all comes down to the interrogation scene. That's the scene that I always go to whenever I have that. I just want to see it. I mean, you're sitting 6 inches away from your rival. You're tearing his soul apart. Your rival here, he wants to take that gloved fist and just punch you right through your face for all the years of torment and anguish and pain, and you've got that one little thing that you like. I don't want to kill him. I don't want to kill him. And then Batman says, "Why do you want to kill me?" That was the question that I've wanted to know for years. Why does the Joker want to kill Batman? And then he flips it. No, I don't want to kill you. No. What would I do without you? You complete me. And I'm like, really? They're just going back and forth, over and over. And then, of course, we got that scene at the end of The Killing Joke as well. I know that's Hamill, but he's like, I want to rehabilitate you. No, it's too late for that. And then at the end of the movie, when he's dangling, he's like, you and I are going to do this forever, and neither one of us is going to kill each other. And I'm like, oh my God, I've waited all this time, and I still can't figure it out, and that's why he's the best.
You still can't figure it out, Stat Boy? Think about it like this.
Okay.
The Batman and Joker are each other's yin and yang.
Mm-hmm.
Without Batman, there's no Joker. Without Joker, there's no Batman. What would Superman be without Lex Luthor?
Less pissy.
What would Lex Luthor be without Superman?
Bored.
You've got to have that rival, Coke and Pepsi. To put it in a more mainstream, Nike and Reebok. You've got to have that factor to keep making you step your game up for better, in society as far as products go, or for worse, if Batman keeps foiling you, you've got to do something more devastating. If he stops you there, you got to get even more dastardly. Got to keep pushing each other to limits. That's why Batman is the world's greatest detective. And the Joker is arguably, regardless of movie company or comic company, the greatest villain of all time.
But has he ever succeeded against him? Also, I want to know that.
They've never succeeded against each other ever, definitively, ever.
No. That's the point.
Except for the original '89 Batman movie, because the Joker dies. I mean, that's it. He's gone. He's done. So,
well, the Joker's died in multiple universes. He died in '89.
No, not really.
No, he died before. There have been plenty in the animated universe. There have been many times where he broke his own neck after going through a tunnel of love. It was insinuated that Batman killed him at the end of Killing Joke. We'll never know that one. In the animated series, he fell down some kind of shaft, and Harley was like, "There goes my pudding," and Batman says, "Yeah, that's probably what happened to him." And even in the video game world, he died from a super virus. So he has died, but somehow they keep bringing him back.
Just like Michael Myers, just like Jason, just like Freddy Krueger, just like Chucky. They always die, and they always come back.
And as far as the animated versions, was there Judge Doom with the dip? Because it was animated, they didn't really die. Anyway.
Come on.
I went there. I said what I said.
Jeff, same question to you. Is Heath Ledger the definitive Joker?
Yep.
And if not, who is and why?
For me, the definitive Joker is Mark Hamill. That voice, that laugh. I have, to this day, saved in my Watch Later YouTube a 40-minute 40 compilation of Mark laughing as the Joker. It is just a thing of wonder. It was my voicemail alert for the longest time before my dad said, "Okay, enough. I'm done." So and the thing is, Mark had the animated freedom to go places that Heath and Caesar and Jack and Joaquin and Jared could not go. And I think that for me, and this is just my, supposition, being a more recent Star Wars fan than either of you, the fact that the definitive hero in the Star Wars universe was able to so easily transition into the most dastardly villain of all time just made it awesome for me. And you think about all the other people that have voiced the Joker in the animated world. Brent Spiner, Data himself, was the Joker at one point. There have been so many people that have voiced that character, but for me, it always comes back to Mark. And the Killing Joke, you brought it up, Mikey. Yes, even in the comic books, it's very ambiguous because there's only one set of laughter at the very end of that. But we really don't know what happened to the Joker at the end of that story. Also named Jack in that version, by the way, for what it's worth. But all we get is Jack. We don't get a last name. We don't get any of that. So, and for me, the best part, I'm going to go a little into the November part of the world here. The fact that he read 45's tweets in the voice and got it so over just makes it, whether you dislike or like the former president of the United States, the Joker reading his tweets was just freaking icing on that. He's the best Joker cake for me. It was just so funny. But within the realm of performance, I have to go with Mark. And I only say that I did defend him getting the supporting actor Oscar, but I don't think he's even the best live action Joker. I still give that nod, with all respect to all the movie actors, to the great Cesar Romero.
Okay, fair enough.
And again, I grew up on the 60s series and reruns, and that also, and Cesar Romero's Joker is just timeless. So,
Okay.
We all grew up on the Batman TV series. I mean, it was
you all grew up
classic.
real because you older than my ass. So,
Yeah, I mean, I didn't understand why the Joker. That's the first time I heard him say the Clown Prince of Crime. The makeup, the green hair. He wasn't dark. He wasn't. He was very funny. He was very campy. And there's actually plenty of interviews with Romero. He says, "Yeah, they said let me go campy with it, have fun with it. This is a great character for you." And of course, the iconic story. He kept his mustache over the white makeup because he refused to get rid of it.
I say this, Mikey. The fact that both JJ and I are wearing depictions of the Joker from right around the time in the 70s where they flipped that switch on him and said, okay, enough of the goofy stuff. When he came back in that epic comic book, the five-part series, whatever it was, and he was on the cover of that thing, especially with the face that JJ has on his shirt, with that overly exaggerated face and the laugh. Oh my God. Like, he is whichever version of the Joker you go with. And I love that you had that shirt on Jay, if I could talk normal. Christ almighty. Because both of you, I think, are familiar with Harley's Joker and Joker's Harley on Facebook and across, all around social media. They've done the con circuit. They're both great. I love Tony and Melissa, both of them. They're awesome people. Tony very much bases his Joker on the Joker you and I depict today, Jay, because that's just, there is no real time stamp on this guy. He's timeless.
Exactly.
And granted, the Joker we saw with Jack Nicholson was very much that gritty, dark 80s stuff. The Joker we saw in The Dark Knight was very much a product of his time. Joaquin Phoenix was very much an early 80s Joker because that's where it was set. But the animated universe and the comic book universe, there is no time, which is why the Joker is able to survive, because we don't know how old he is. We don't know where he's from. We don't know where he, exists. But in this universe, in this movie, he has one mission, and that is to create anarchy. He's an agent of chaos. He said so himself in talking to Harvey. He is the best villain of this trilogy, and it is a damn shame we didn't get to see what he would do when Bane turned him loose. That would have been cool to see on film.
Definitely. And, I feel like I have to answer this question as well.
Yes,
and
definitely.
I have always been one of those proprietors that says that the Joker is whatever you want him to be. If you are looking for somebody to be goofy, over the top, clown prince, you've got Cesar Romero, and he does an amazing job at being the first Joker on film.
Yep.
If you're looking for something a little bit more reality driven and gangsterish, then you've got Jack Nicholson, who very much is a product of, granted it was an 80s movies, but his Jack Napier is very much, you think of the era of the 40s and 50s gangster movies.
Yep.
And you think of people like Bugsy Siegel and Lucky Luciano and, Cody Jarrett, played by James Cagney in White Heat. It's very much that type of gangster. And then you want somebody that's just an anarchist who causes chaos for chaos sakes. Bam, you've got Heath Ledger for you.
Yeah.
You want somebody who's kind of sociopathic. You got Jared Leto, who really is underrated in his Joker performance because his Joker does not take up a lot of that film.
No.
The Joker is a bit character in Suicide Squad.
Right.
That movie should be called The Deadshot and Harley Story. Because everybody else is just subsequential.
Well, Warner Brothers saw where their money is, man. Margot Robbie and Will Smith. I'm just throwing it out there. See, that's
And Margot has said that she will play Harley as long as the fans want her to play Harley. God bless her for that, because she kicks ass in that role.
Yeah, and to her credit, Jay, I'm sorry to cut you off. I know it's your show. I apologize. She took what was a very niche character as far as always in the Harlequin outfit, and it's very hard to imagine Harley not in that costume now, especially having worked at Halloween store that year. Oh my god.
That was a drinking Halloween game that one year. Take a shot for every Harley costume you see. Make it a double if the person wearing it should not be wearing that costume.
Yeah. Between that one that year and the year Frozen came out, and you challenged the entire apartment. Anytime El Serrano come to the door, like, dude, we're gonna have alcohol poisoning. Like, no, Uncle Jay, it's a bad Uncle Jay.
But then going back to my little diatribe here, then you got Joaquin Phoenix, who's kind of got that depressed, loner kind of Joker going on. Like, I've only seen it once, so I can't really pinpoint where he fits into the grand scheme of things.
Right.
But you've got, I see Joaquin's Joker, and I think of that quote from Pee-wee's Big Adventure, I'm a loner, Dottie, a rebel.
Right.
That very much was Joaquin's Joker. And then you get to the guy that I feel is the definitive Joker.
Here we go. Yeah.
Because he has all the elements in one. He combines the best traits of Nicholson, Hamill, and Ledger, as you can see there in the graphic. And then he takes it and he puts his own little spin on it. And you've got Cameron Monaghan's Jerome Velasca. I mean, nothing against any of the other people, because there had to be something for him to dive into and be inspired by to create his own vision, like we were talking about towards the beginning of the show, and how you get the screenwriter and the director and the producers and the actor kind of create their own origin. And I feel that that's what Cameron did. And I feel like he's the definitive Joker. I just wish that the powers that be would put him into a movie as the Joker and let him do what he's already done for all those years on Gotham.
He picked that because I haven't seen Gotham yet. He's just to take a shot at me. That's why he did that. That's okay.
No, that's got nothing to do with it. That I truly feel that is the best version of the Joker, and he wasn't even called the Joker because of licensing rights.
Yeah. I never understood that. I would love to do it. You talk about dive. I can do a deep dive on what the hell that was about at some point. I don't understand that.
Maybe it was a thing between Fox and Warner. Maybe Fox said when they produced the film, they're like, Fox says, well, we want to call this guy the Joker, and Warner's like saying, no, you're not going to call this kid the Joker. You're going to call him Jerome, or something like, or it was a compromise. They got everything except the Joker.
Pretty much, yeah. They were able to get they were basically able to get every character in the Batman lore, with the exception of the Joker, because they did not want them to taint what is arguably, like we said, the greatest villain in comic book history.
Now,
and not only did they not taint him, they expounded upon his origins and made him even cooler than he already had become, thanks in part to Heath Ledger.
Now, let me ask you this for you that actually seen it. They never actually called Bruce Batman and all of that. He was just they gave him they ever call him the Batman before the series ended?
No.
Okay.
He was Bruce Wayne the entire show, and in the final shot of the series, the young man who played Bruce, I'm blanking on his name right now, appeared in the suit on top of a rooftop, and that was the only glimpse of the Bat that you got.
Very much
did get around Jerome by calling him Mr. J a couple of times when he became Jeremiah.
Right.
Because Jeremiah had his own version of Harley.
Oh, yeah. So
Jerome did not.
Yeah, you mentioned the thing with Bruce, because I remember when they did Smallville, and the very last shot is Tom Welling on top of that, roof or whatever. Boom, there it is. They called him the Blur or the Red and Blue Blur for a while, but he was never definitively called Superman. So, but what's funny, when they did the whole Crisis thing, he was referred to as Superman, even though by that point he renounced his powers in that universe. Really weird. Anyway.
The politics of television.
Oh no. It goes beyond television. It goes beyond the fact that Warner graced Fox with allowing them to take their characters for a spin. So,
all right, guys.
Fox is owned by Disney now. That's a whole other friggin' show.
Yeah. We interrupt this episode of Renegades Reviews for an important announcement about
merchandising.
Merchandising? What's that?
Merchandising. Come, I'll show you. Merchandising, where the real money's made.
Make sure you go over to teespring.com/stores/Jeff Meacham Network for all the t-shirts you see here from the West Coast professor, Jeff Meacham himself. You can get shirts for the Jeff Meacham Network, Talk Wrestling, as well as the red and gold Meachamania shirts. And while you're there, don't forget to get your shirts of the Casa D18 Studios Brotherhood, the Dads on Wrestling shirt, the Renegade J.J. Williams, Statboy Sports Bar, and the hashtag StatBoyApproved shirt. Make sure you go over to teespring.com/stores/Jeff Meacham Network and score your shirts today. It's time for that part of the show. You know how we do it. Whole and half stars only. There will be no quarters, no 3/4. Statboy, we will start with you. What do you give The Dark Knight and why?
5 stars.
Okay.
No words needed. It's an excellent movie. The cast is great. It's one of my go-to movies. Whenever it's on, you have to stop and watch. You have to play sing along with Heath Ledger, because I do that all the time. I almost considered giving it 4.5 because I did not, of course, like the I'm Batman, down here with Bale. That was a thing that we didn't really get into, but that's one of the small points. So it has to be 5.
Okay. Mr. Meacham?
My
Professor?
guess this Thursday on One-on-One Rick Ellis shames you for that comment, Mikey. Swear to me you won't do that again. Anyway.
No promises.
And if you know, you know. We'll do that at least 5 times on Thursday, guaranteed. So, God help you, Rick. I swear, seriously. He has a title defense next week. It's crying out loud, Jeff. 5 stars. Up until the release of the MCU, and I dare say it's still fighting, the greatest superhero movie of all time.
Yeah.
Wow.
And this coming from a Superman fan.
Wow.
And Superman
the greatest superhero film of all time.
Yeah. And let me just, again, the MCU is amazing. Okay? I still have not seen the entire thing the whole way through. So I can't sit here and go, Endgame is the best. I saw Endgame in theaters with my son, got caught up in it, bawled like a baby, all that happy stuff. But I need to see the entire arc before I go, okay, that was the best ever because the entire thing was the best ever. My money sitting here now, I'll less bias it. The Dark Knight's my favorite superhero movie of all time.
Okay, fair enough.
And coming from a Superman 78 fan, that's big. So
that is big. Another cool thing to point out is that as far as the DC movies go, only this and Superman 78 have been deemed as historically, need to be preserved by the film institutions.
Yep.
For as big of movies as they were.
Which I find so funny, considering how culturally important Batman 89 was.
Yeah. For me, when it comes to this one, I honestly give it 5 stars as well.
Bravo.
You know,
There you go.
I do really enjoy this film. Like we've touched on, I love the rise and fall of Harvey Dent angle. I discussed it a little bit a couple days ago when I did Batman Begins. I love the dichotomy between Michael Caine and Christian Bale.
Yes.
Such a great father-son relationship.
Yes.
You know, and that's always important when it comes to Alfred and Bruce, because Alfred has always basically been that father figure for Bruce ever since he lost Thomas and Martha.
Yep.
You know, it's bad that you basically refer to them as Thomas and Martha like they're step parents. You know, you don't refer to them as Bruce's mother and father. You always refer to them as Thomas and Martha Wayne.
Right.
You know, it's almost got this step parent vibe where Alfred is more like his father than his parents ever were. So that's always important to watch the relationship between Bruce and Alfred, and is it believable as a father-son? It was very much believable when it was Michael Gough and, you know, whether it was Keaton, Kilmer, or even Clooney.
I would say
The relationship was there.
It was much more prevalent in the Clooney one than any other three, I think, personally.
Because of the Alfred death angle.
Right.
But it was still very much there with the other ones as well.
Oh, for sure. It also evolved into it more as it went on with those.
And it's part of why I still have a hard time with the Affleck Irons one.
Right.
You know, I don't feel the same father-son vibe.
No.
And I still have that in the back of my head, like, dude, that's Scar.
Yeah.
Scar is going to kill you, Bruce.
He's going to throw you off the cliff of that Batcave.
You don't trust Scar. No, Bruce,
you
that's
don't.
bad Bruce.
And see, I know they're not that close in age, but they look very much closer in age than the other pairings
Exactly.
do. So
there's that also.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I discussed a couple days ago on Batman Begins, I love the relationship between Bale's Bruce and Morgan Freeman's Lucius Fox.
Yes.
Which grows even more in this one, you know, and the whole, you've got to trust.
Yeah.
And Batman telling Lucius, you know, I need you to man this equipment and try to trace the Joker. This is too much power for any one man. As long as this is here at Wayne Enterprises, I will not be. Consider this my resignation. And Batman tells him, you know, as soon as you're done, insert your name.
Yep.
And he does, and the thing destroys itself because Batman knew that was too much for one person, and he just needed it to find the Joker.
Yeah, and I love that when Lucius says, this is too much power for one man, he goes, that's why you're doing it. Because Bruce knows, I can't handle this shit. You can.
So
moral center, man. I'm telling you. That's why Morgan Freeman plays God in every other damn thing he's in.
Right?
Moral center, brother.
So, Stat Boy, Jeff Meacham, thank you for joining me here today as we wax philosophical on what you guys feel is arguably the greatest superhero film of all time, The Dark Knight. I happen to disagree when it comes to that claim, but subjective, as we like to say on the dads, not always on wrestling.
Yes.
To all my loyal fans and viewers out there that have been tuning in for the premiere, leaving your thoughts over there next to Jeff. Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate you guys. To all my loyal fans and viewers that tune in a little bit later in the day and watch on demand, leaving your thoughts and comments underneath the Stat Boy there. Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it. Before I do the official sign off, is there anything that you guys would like to plug and promote?
Well, let's not forget, Jay, coming up right now on the Jeff Meacham Network is you and I doing our top 10 musical moments contained in non-musical films on the dads, not always on wrestling. So watch that. And then it's going to be rush hour here in California, so get on that freeway, guys, because the Viper Room is going to be cooking before too long. Paradise Kitty's going on at 9 o'clock.
There you go. Stat Boy?
Keep watching every Tuesday at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific for Stat Boy Sports Bar. We're going to keep talking football. If you want to join in to the football conversations, you're more than welcome to. Comments during the show, possibly coming in and doing a roundtable match by match. We're going to keep going with the contests and all that great stuff. Follow me on Twitter at LBStatKid1977. Follow me on Facebook. My personal page is my name. And, of course, we have the Stat Boy Rants Facebook page as well.
I'm going to be curious to see how I do going up against you this week as your personal challenger. The man who gives not an F about football versus the Stat Boy.
Hey, the fact that Mikey beat Greg in week 1 and Greg was not happy about that Tuesday when I told him. So it was interesting. But I will say this before you sign off, Jay. I would like to encourage everybody to please donate to this chat room and to Mikey's personal bank account. Get this man a tripod. Today's show is brought to you by the Blair Witch Project.
And a light, and some pretty cool DC clothes, and make it a birthday present.
Hey, you know what? You can get all the gear that you need at the Spring store, okay?
Right. Merchandising.
So once again, as the chaos ensues here, thank you to all my loyal fans and viewers that tuned in. I appreciate the views. I appreciate you guys trying to help me get up there so I can eventually become monetized. And until tomorrow, right back here on the Casa D18 Studios channel, when I will bring you yet another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews, and we will be discussing The Watchmen, a film that I, as of date, have not seen, so it'll be my first time watching it in order to review it for you guys. I'm very much looking forward to that.
That'd be cool.
Thank you guys for tuning in. For the West Coast Professor, for the Stat Boy, I am the Renegade, and we will see you guys next time.